Howdy, how's it going? Welcome back, or howdy if you're new. This is the Beitong Asura 2 Pro Plus wireless controller, and we're going to be unboxing it and reviewing it, and I'm going to tell you why you should ditch your Xbox Elite Series controller or consider picking one of these up instead. This thing comes in at a pretty good price point for all its features. It's only about 89 bucks at the time of filming this, so I'll leave some affiliate links below in case you do want to check this out. And a quick thank you to the channel OG members. You guys are the GOAT. Thank you so much for all your support. And let's just dive right on in. So this controller is a 2000 hertz polling rate controller. And you can think of polling rate like refresh rate. More equals better, essentially. That will give you a faster response time, so when you're playing first-person shooters, you have the quickest response time possible. And if you look at latency test on this controller and you compare it to the Xbox Elite Series, which I'll throw some tests up above, there is no comparison. It is a massive, massive difference between these two controllers. And if you are looking for something that offers mechanical buttons, Hall effect joysticks, Hall effect triggers, you won't find that in the Xbox Elite Series, but you will find it in this controller. Now you guys may or may not have seen the review on this, and this is the Beitong Zeus 2 Pro. I really like this controller, but the price tag was a little too strong for me. But this came in at a much better price point, and it is packed full of features, and it's actually pretty cool looking. So let's just go ahead and unbox it and I'll show you what you get. So you'll have an owner's manual that will come flying out at you, and this is actually pretty important because there are a few things in the owner's manual such as pairing instructions that you might need, so kind of keep these handy. So inside of the box you have some protectors that go around the sticks. They're little foam protectors, and then you have the wireless dongle. And the cool thing about this dongle is it's an improvement from the one on the Zeus 2 Pro. The Zeus 2 Pro was pretty chunky and pretty big, and I know some people had some issues where if you went too far away from it, you would get a lot of interference issues or either disconnections and stuff. I will try to leave some more testing data at the end of this video. That way you can kind of see the latency differences between them. So if you are looking for latency testing, please stay tuned to the end and I'll be sure to include that in there. So inside of the bag, you'll see your stick protectors. You can pull those off, and it has a beautiful pearlescent white metallic-y paint on it, and it's actually really nice. I don't know how well that metallic-y pearl is going to come across on camera, but it is beautiful. This is a very sleek controller design, and these joysticks and the button colors are like a tealish green, and then there's like a clear top part of the joystick housing. So I think that's really unique. It's really cool. It would have been nice if we had like some RGB shining through it or something like that, but yeah. Let's go ahead and turn on the controller, and you can see the little RGB flashing ring. You can set multiple different modes. You can even change this from 500 hertz, 1000 hertz, or 2000 hertz. There's a turbo button, so if you're playing certain fighting games, you can program that button to just keep pressing for you. It's kind of cheating, but you know, it's a feature. And then on the back, you have these little back paddle buttons, which are clicky and mechanical as well. And then right here is a spot where you can actually put the dongle, so you're not going to lose it. That's actually a really sweet feature that most controllers that I've seen just don't have. Then it is a USB-C charging cable, so you can hook this up directly to a computer using USB-C. It'll work on any PC or Switch. It won't work on Xbox or PS5, unfortunately, but yeah. So the D-pad, it actually feels really good, but it is a shorter D-pad. It doesn't have a very long throw, but it's a very fast and responsive D-pad. The shoulder buttons feel pretty good. I would say they're not mechanical feeling as I would say these were, but it definitely feels pretty good. And then as far as the triggers, these things are really, really good. They feel awesome. And by the way, I have previously unboxed this and tested it, so I am very familiar with this controller. I just wanted to put it back in the box just for transparency's sake. I didn't want to bamboozle you guys, but yeah, I have used this controller for a couple of weeks now. I wanted to put it through all its paces and just make sure that I didn't have any issues. And also, Beitong did send this over for review. It wasn't a paid review. However, I did get to keep the controller, but there was no obligations to make a specific review or whatever. I just told them I would be happy to review it, and that was about it. So thank you, Beitong, for letting me review this and giving me a lot of time to review it. I definitely took a little more time than I normally do, but like I said, it's because I had some issues with the wireless dongle on this, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't have any issues, because that was a concern with the other one. Beitong Zeus 2 Pro is an amazing controller, by the way, but I do not recommend using the dongle for it. I was always using it either wired or Bluetooth, so just keep that in mind. So we'll do some latency testing in the next scene, and I'll go over everything. So as far as all the buttons go, super clicky, super mechanical, super fast. When you're playing first-person shooters, when you're playing any type of fighting game, those button presses are going to feel amazing, and they're going to be really fast and really clean. One other thing is when you press these, it's not as fast, and these joysticks, they're not Hall effect. I don't know why the Xbox Elite Series controllers do not offer that, but I will say the shoulder buttons feel a little bit more positive on the clicks up here. And then as far as these go, these are a little bit more clicky, but a little bit more sloppy. I don't really use the shoulder buttons too much. I mainly use the triggers and these buttons right here and the joysticks. I don't even use the D-pad too much, but yeah, just figured that was worth mentioning since I'm comparing some controllers here. All right, so when you are going to be getting this, what you're going to want to do is download the software and update the firmware, because there are a little bit of extra controls and features that you can do inside of that software they offer. So I will recommend downloading that and setting it up. And I might make another video on doing so. There also is a bunch of them already, but yeah. So here we go. Let's go ahead and hook this thing up and test it out. So now let's take a look at the results. I'm going to be showing you a couple of different places I tested this, a few programs, and everything is going to be pretty easy for you guys to replicate at home if you want to do so. And I'll leave links to everything below. And let's go ahead and look at Gamepad Tester, or Hardware Tester rather. And this is going to show you that the error rate on these joysticks is only 0.1%, which is as low as you can get, really. And check this out. I'm going to show you something that I had issues with on the Elite series. I'm more of an aggressive controller player, and when I'm playing first-person shooters, I tend to like shake the controller a little bit. But watch this. I'm shaking this thing, and it's not moving. The joysticks right here, they're not moving at all in the slightest. Watch this. So you can see right here, this is shaking these joysticks pretty bad. So if you have the vibration or the rumble set on, even the slightest little bit of rumble is going to decrease your accuracy. And you can see how the wobble is right here. These don't have substantial drift, but they do have a little bit of drift right here. So it's not recentering perfectly. And then watch the error rate right here. So about a 10 to 11% error rate. And that's not huge and meaningful, because these are a little bit of a different stick design anyways, because they are Alps sticks, and they're designed to give you that. So comparing them isn't really always the best, but as far as the accuracy and the responsiveness, these are a huge win. They're way more responsive. So the other test that I ran was this right here, and this is a latency test, and I'll see if I can a little bigger so you can see it. So you can see right here, we have a polling rate of 2000 Hertz, and this is this one right here. We're gonna test this one and compare. And then we had a minimum interval of 0.29 milliseconds, and the max was 1.25 milliseconds. So that's the response time of this controller. It is really, really fast. Now let's look at the Xbox controller. So I'm going to close this again, and I'll need to rerun the joystick tester, but let's go ahead and check this polling rate. So when you open up this program right here, this is going to be linked below. You'll hit number 1, you'll hit enter, test the left stick, you'll hit enter, and now you'll just move this around in a circle. until it finishes. It's going to take a little bit longer because of the polling rate. It has to do a little bit more test, I believe. So we're almost to 100%. Come on. It's a lot slower. Look at that. 9 milliseconds is the highest, and the lowest is 7.28 milliseconds. And the polling rate, 125 hertz. Yep, you heard me right. 125 hertz. That's a lot slower. This controller is going to be a lot worse at first-person shooter games than this. This is going to be the king of the crop when you're playing a first-person shooter. So now let's look at the joystick tester, and this is basically almost just like the other one, but it's just mapping it out and showing you exactly where all the spots are. And again, you can see 118 hertz. That's, yeah, it's kind of slow. Circle error rate on this one, it's saying it's 14%. It's pretty high to me, but like I said, it's Alps controller, joysticks, and there's really, some people don't like to compare that, but I do. Now let's look at the Beitong Zeus 2 Pro. And we'll just do this test real quick, show you the polling rate, by the way. Look at that, 1000 hertz on this one, and this one is 2000 hertz, so it's faster. Now let's look at the polling rate tester, and we'll see the latency. So controller 1, enter, left stick, enter. And now we just run this test. Look how much faster these tests go through. All right, so look at that. The maximum interval was 2.2 milliseconds and the minimum was 0.65. So this controller comes in at a much cheaper price point. It's faster and more responsive than the Zeus 2 Pro. So I've actually been using this a lot more lately because of how fast it is. So when I'm playing Call of Duty, it just feels really quick and really responsive. I know I keep saying really quick and really responsive. Now let's do a test on the wireless and see how it fares. So take your dongle, you plug it in, you turn it on, and it should automatically pair. Let's check right here. Yep, it paired. Check our polling rate. 1578 megahertz. I believe that's just normal with the 2000 thing. It doesn't always register at 2000, but still, it's still pretty crazy. 1500 hertz is pretty nuts. And again, that error rate, it's showing 0.3%, 0.2%. Yeah, that's right on par with the other test. So now let's check the polling rate. We're gonna do 1, enter, 1, enter, and now look at that. So the response time over here, 0.3 milliseconds, and then the maximum interval is 0.85. Damn! Maybe I've been using this wrong. Maybe I need to use the dongle instead. Well, I'm impressed. So let's check the dongle on the other one and check and see how it looks there. That's insane. I'm impressed. I am impressed. All right, so we paired this up, and the pairing instructions are in here, but to hold the function button and to turn it on at the same time will get you into the pairing mode. So now let's check this one right here. Now it's reading 197 hertz, and I haven't really figured out why, because I did flash the firmware on this. So I'm guessing that maybe the dongle just doesn't support the higher refresh rate on, or a higher polling rate rather, on this controller. That is a odd anomaly that I have seen, and I just didn't bother to look further into it. So there may be a simple fix for that, but that's just something to consider. So now let's test this left stick. Yeah, the polling rate is a little bit slower, but it's not bad. All right, so look at the latency difference here. 11.86 milliseconds is the maximum, and the minimum is 3.43, and it is showing up at 250 hertz. So it's got to be a wireless dongle limitation with this particular dongle. But man, look at that. That's insane. That's a huge difference. That's a massive, massive, massive difference. So now let's check the Xbox once again in this polling rate, and you're gonna see the difference. Okay, now let's pull this up one more time, just to compare one more time. Yeah, it's still like 8 seconds. 9.45 seconds. That's pretty crazy. So let's check Bluetooth. All right, so we have the Bluetooth connected. Now let's do a little testing. 11 to 12 milliseconds. Man, I don't even feel like doing this. I'm gonna speed this up. Let's do a speed run. Oh man, my arm is so sore after that. This thing takes twice as long on Bluetooth, but look at that latency. If you're playing on Bluetooth on an Xbox Elite Series controller, you are clowning yourself. You are definitely clowning, because that is a 33.9 millisecond latency difference. This thing is insane how bad the latency is on Bluetooth. You will be losing matches and having a much lower kill death ratio on Call of Duty with the Xbox controller, as opposed to using one of these and getting like half a millisecond to a millisecond latency. That's a big difference. That's a really big difference. All right, so let's go ahead and unpair that controller, and we're going to pair up this one through Bluetooth, and we're going to test it. All right, so I guess Bluetooth in general is probably not a good idea, is it? For competitive shooting. Okay, so Bluetooth's not a good idea. The Xbox has a little bit better Bluetooth latency, it looks like, a maximum of 44, so I don't really know many people who do play on Bluetooth. You should probably already know that there is going to be some latency, so definitely good to see the results between those two, because I definitely wouldn't do it on Bluetooth if I was you. Use that dongle. I've actually tested the dongle after doing this, and man, I've actually gotten pretty good distance on it. I am able to sit on the couch, and I am able to play games without disconnecting, so the distance on that is pretty good, and I do think it is much better than the other one. So yeah, impressive results. Let's look one more time at it through the wireless connection. That's insane. I can do it that fast. That was not sped up or anything. That was just right here. 1 millisecond latency, and the minimum is 0.3. So 1 millisecond latency through a wireless versus like 30 or whatever it was on Bluetooth, or 8 if you're doing it wired. You make the choice. All right, guys, well, that's pretty much it. This does really get a strong CPPC tech stamp of approval. 100%. I would recommend it. I would totally buy it. If they did not send this over for review, I would have bought this. I had been looking at a lot of their controllers anyways, and I'm happy. Like, this is my new favorite controller, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. Ever since I got this one anyways, I completely stopped using this, and I am just here to tell you, you should never buy an Xbox Elite Series controller, ever. Don't do it. Just don't do it. All right, well, if you like this video, leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know what controller you have, what controller I should look at next. There are a lot of good options out there, and I will love to see what controllers you guys like. And if you want more controller reviews, by the way, I'll leave a link below to a buddy of mine, Game Tech Talk. He does way more in-depth testing on controllers, and he is the controller guru. So if you need some more controller advice and this one may not be for you, definitely go check him out. This guy is the GOAT when it comes to the controllers. All right, well, I hope you guys, as always, have a good afternoon, good evening, or good night.